This is your friend and your brother from another mother, the Reverend Kenn Blanchard. And I got questions this week.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
We're going to be talking about Sturgis and being divisive. What is an outlaw motorcycle gang? What's a dangerous motorcycle gang? What is the American Motorcycle Association? Who decides what freedom is for you? Do you like the outlaw legend? Do you know the dangers of the real biker? What's wrong with us? Everything is political, or is it? We talk about freedom, but are we being divisive, racist, or segregationalist as a rider, rice burner versus American iron? What's being an American biker mean to you? And here's an easy one. How do you handle poor customer service at your dealership? Bikers versus riders, motorcycle enthusiasts. What does being a motorcyclist mean to you? How do you handle all these differences? Can a brand survive if it's not a niche? Respect, time, colors, people, and life.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Back in the day, like the 60s, choppers were a thing. I remember one time when my dad showed up at my grandmother's place riding a dark green Honda Chopper 750. Thought he was the coolest dude on the planet. I was so glad he was my father. I didn't know it at the time. But that's another story. And then my neighbor, who became like my elder brother, had a Triumph with a coffin-style gas tank. I think it was a Triumph 650 that he had made into a chopper. Man, he was the second coolest guy in the world. And he actually helped me get my license. As I grew up, I learned about bikers and the images. And in our neighborhood, believe it or not, we had a biker bar. And there was this gang when I was in about 16, I believe. There was a gang that lived down the street from my girlfriend's house. You'd hear the motorcycles start up on the inside of the house. And then somebody would throw down a big old plank of wood, and they would come riding out of this house, right out the steps, into the street. And I thought, wow, these guys were badass. This was really, really cool. And they frequently were the people that I saw at the biker bar, which when I was 16 and I had my Honda 350 and thought I was trying to be cool too, I used to play pinball in this club and occasionally look at the topless ladies on the far side of the bar. Nobody paid me any attention, not really, because I was not a threat to anybody. Threw my quarter in the machine, played pinball for about 20, 30 minutes, and rolled out, thinking I was a tough guy. How many of us do things not knowing the dangers that we're in? It was almost 2 decades later when I'm sitting in a class in the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center as a police officer, learning about dangerous outlaw motorcycle gangs. And I learned that the group that lived down the street from my girlfriend's house back in the day was called the Pagans. Yeah, pagans are no joke. How many of us like to pretend that we're outlaw bikers? There's some things that you might not want to do. It can save your life. You know, they call it posing. Harley's made more money off of their fashion than they do their bikes. There's a Harley dealership place where you can buy T-shirts and patches and all kind of stuff in almost every major city in the world. It's the image we like. Am I right? Oh, but you don't want the truth, do you? Just giving you some informed information. You know, wearing leather used to be a weird thing. But leather has been a preferred method of abrasion resistance because it slides on asphalt. And that's why we ride it, not always to look cool. Plenty of people wear patches and stuff. But you might want to slow your roll on some patches. Some have a significant and special meaning. to real bikers, to the outlaw biker, to the gangs. Don't put rocker patches above and below any patch that you put on your jacket. It might resemble somebody else's colors. A 3-patch design denotes that a member belongs to a traditional motorcycle club or outlaw group. A 3-piece biker patch consists of a top rocker, the club's emblem, and a bottom rocker. They're called colors. They are the equivalent of wearing a uniform. And if you are not in special forces, not a Navy SEAL, not a U.S. Marine, not a part of any special outfit in the military, you know that stolen valor is a big thing. People hate it, and is equally hated among outlaw biker gangs. The rules for wearing motorcycle patches can vary from one biker club to the other, and also depending on the meaning that they are supposed to convey. There are motorcycle patches to avoid and be aware of. Mostly, these are worn by the outlaw types. A good example of the motorcycle patch to avoid is the one that says 1%. A 1%er is an outlaw that has a history going back to the 1950s, and is about a statement made by the American Motorcycle Association that they were not a part of, that they were outlaws. They were not a part of the 99% of the bikers that abide by the law, and the 1% are outlaws. Another patch you don't want to touch, it has a 13 on it. This sometimes refers to the 13th letter of the alphabet, M, and it's thought that bikers who wear this patch might be drug dealers or use drugs, but it also is a part of that community's history that you are not a part of. Sometimes you'll see an ace of spade, the death card. It usually means that person is willing to fight for their club or their country. A skull and crossbones is pretty normal, right? Sometimes it means that biker's escaped a near-death experience. You need to watch what you put on your clothes. They wear their stuff like colors, like a flag, like a uniform, and you don't want to be disrespecting anybody's rags or a patch accidentally. You'll open a can of whoop ass that you cannot fix. Believe me on that one. Sometimes it just all goes down to respect. They also like to ride, but just don't encroach in their world. Respect is a denomination of social currency. And when you are known to respect others, people will respect you. It's a sense of worth or personal value that you attach to somebody. Respect is an overall evaluation you give someone based on other factors. What they're doing with their life, how they treat you and others, whether they are honest or not, whether they seem to be consistently do good things, large or small, for people. In short, respect is a positive view that you form of somebody living their life. And self-respect is how you're living your life. One of the biggest things that you can do to diss somebody is to be late. That means you disrespect them as a person. You don't value their time. You just saying that your time is worth more than theirs. It's a nonverbal. You didn't do anything. So sometimes your apologies, you might have to work on it, because just saying I'm sorry or disregarding that you were late seems like you're just dismissing somebody, and it's a form of disrespect. The American Motorcycle Association is an American nonprofit organization with like buku motorcyclists that do a whole lot of activities and campaigns for motorcyclists' legal rights. And its mission statement is to, quote, promote the motorcycling lifestyle and protect the future of motorcycling. They even have a lobbying arm here in the nation's capital. Have you ever thought about how racist and how segregationalist we are as motorcyclists? Think about it for a second. And that's all this episode is about, thinking. Segregated societies, clubs, and brands. Rice burner versus American iron. Do you ride only with Harley and Indian riders? Do you diss anybody on a sport bike? If you do, why? Do you not wave at a sport bike when they're going by? And if you don't, why? We talk about freedom all the time as motorcyclists. But are we also divisive, racist, and segregationalist? Which brings me to this thing about Sturgis. You know, Sturgis just happened last week. And when I was a younger man, I just dismissed Sturgis altogether because it was in South Dakota and it was a place for outlaw bikers to go and hang out. And it might be the biggest motorcycle rally in the country, but I didn't think it was going to be welcoming to a person of coffee-colored skin. Now, I'm a bold brother. I've been doing some crazy stuff my whole life, but I don't punch the bear. I don't swing a bat at hornet's nest. I don't try to pick up skunks by the tail. And I don't swim with alligators or piranha anymore. You know, as I was going through my list of what I just said, I've actually done all that stuff and lived. But I count my wisdom now as being a survivor of my stupidity as a younger man. So don't be like me. Do better. Now, the funny part is, what if you like some of the stuff that the outlaw bikers do? Like I remember when I had a Suzuki Cavalcade, big touring bike back in the day, in the 90s. And B.B. King and Johnny Winter were playing at this big outdoor concert. And I knew that if I rode my motorcycle, I could probably park way closer to the stage than if I had my car. So I rode my bike. Unknowing at this time is that there are many blues lovers that are also bikers, real bikers. So as I got closer to this parking lot and I saw thousands of motorcycles, all Harleys, I recognized what I had seen in my neighborhood. I thought, okay, there's a huge number of pagans here. And this is not an American-made bike. The parking lot was right overside of a ravine. And even though there was a big space opening, I thought, yeah, this bike will not be here when I return. But as if my mind was being read, the motorcyclist right behind me, who was an outlaw biker, had the colors on, said, yo, bro, you here to see Johnny Winter and B.B. King? And I said, yeah, man. He goes, don't worry. The brothers ain't going to touch your bike, even though it is a rice burner. And I smiled, and I thought, man, was it written in my face, on my forehead? And I parked it, and we jammed on some blues that afternoon and at night. I've been at ZZ Top concerts. I've been many places where I was the lone blackface in the crowd. Is it my choice of music and entertainment? Is it how I am? And what about you? Do you get pegged as a racist or a segregationalist just because you're a white person and you like funk, jazz, blues too? It goes both ways. And can we sometimes just be ourselves? Can we not fall into the niche? Can we not be what the world wants us to be? Can't we just all get along? Like Rodney said, I got questions. You got answers? Let me know in the notes. Let me know by email. Let me know on Facebook page, which is growing, by golly, as is this podcast. But I want to be respectful. I want to know what you think. Talk to me, somebody, like we say in church. Let me know if politics has messed you up, if you've been stuck and painted the wrong picture because you ride. How do you deal with the divisiveness? How do you deal with the culture? How do you stand against foolishness and foolish people? How do you manage this thing? Your comments and your phrasing and your words might help somebody else out. Don't be shy. Let me know. Now, was I wrong to dog Sturgis? Well, see, the first rally was held by Indian motorcycle riders on August 14th, 1938, by the Jack Pine Gypsies Motorcycle Club. The club still owns and operates the tracks, hill climb, and field areas where the rally is centered. The first event was called the Black Hills Classic and consisted of a single race of 9 participants and a small audience. The founder was Clarence Pappy Hole. He purchased an Indian motorcycle franchise in Sturgis in 1936 and formed the Jack Pine Gypsies that same year. The Jack Pine Gypsies were inducted into the Motorcycle Hall of Fame in 1997. Hole was inducted into the American Motorcycle Association Hall of Fame the following year. The focus of a motorcycle rally was originally racing and stunts. In 1961, the rally was expanded to include the hill climb and motocross races. This could include half-mile track racing. The first year in Sturgis, there were 19 participants. Intentional board wall crashes, ramp jumps, and head-on collisions with automobiles. The Sturgis Rally has been held every year, with exceptions during World War II. For instance, from 1942 to 1944, the event was not held due to gasoline rationing. Originally, it was just a 2-day event. Through the 1970s and the early 80s, many attendees camped at the place called City Park. When a record 40,000 visitors arrived in Sturgis in 1980, local residents became concerned with the behavior of these attendees. In 1982, a referendum was presented to the city asking them to no longer provide municipal services, such as parking on Main Street, law enforcement, and allowing camping in City Park. City Attorney Dale Hansen advised that any vote would be non-binding and could not stop the rally because the motorcycle rally was sponsored by private groups. Now, although this referendum was defeated, the city of Sturgis followed the mayor's committee recommendations to prohibit camping in City Park and eliminate downtown street vendors. But because of the power of entrepreneurism, to serve the needs of future rally attendees, the Buffalo Chip Campground was established outside of town. The Sturgis Motorcycle Rally venue first hosted campers in 1982. Over the years, the venue evolved to what it is now, to include vendors, campsites, cabins, and stages, becoming one of the biggest entertainment hubs of the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. For many years now, it's a 7-day event, starting on a Monday during the first full week of August. In 1987, the Buffalo Chip expanded the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally entertainment to the current 10-day and 9-night format. Bands that performed were typical of, that culture. Hard rock, country. In October 2016, the city of Sturgis expanded the city's dates to match the 10-day format and then had the rally start on Friday before the full week of August and end on the second Sunday. So it's been a 10-day event since 2017. And it just ended this past weekend. Now, one of my comments about this culture of bikers is, how they treat women. Or how they used to treat women. I'm not sure how they do it now. But back in the day, see, all the stuff started when I started riding in 80, 81, 82, same time period. The old lady bikers, the show me your tatas kind of biker, the raucous, rowdy, perverted stuff that happens at rallies. That was the norm. Now we have a kinder, gentler nation. You can't do a whole bunch of stuff. We're all being more sensitive to each other. But are we? I want to hear your story. I want to hear somebody who's actually been to Sturgis, who's seen the growth, who is in this culture. Talk to me. Send me a note. Shout me out. Let me know the real deal. I've never been there. You've been on the ground. Tell a brother what's up. Back in the day, motorcycle rallies were off the chain. I used to see the photos in the late 80s and the 90s, and to me, it was like a movie, raw and uncensored. Remember the days of the videotape? Girls Gone Wild and bikers. It's just, are we still there or have we moved on? What is it like now? I got questions. You got any answers for me?
Meanwhile,
to everybody who successfully gets to me, answers a question, gives me some comment on our feedback line, which will be in the show notes, by the way, I will send you out a decal, Indian Motorcycle Radio. Taresa will be back next week. Got her show already lined up and ready to go. She'll be talking about steps for a new rider and a whole lot more. I'm still dealing with my wife and, being a caregiver, and that's kicking me in the poo-poo. Last night I spent all night in the emergency room. She's in the hospital today. By the time you hear this episode, I'll be on my bike riding, getting a little wind therapy, clearing my head, hoping I don't have all the issues that some of the other Indian Challenger owners have had on Facebook page that I've been reading. learning my bike, and living my life. Thank you so much for listening, downloading, and subscribing to this episode. If you like what you heard, if you got questions, if you got answers for me, you can contact me. And check out all past episodes at BlanchardNetwork.com.
Work here is done. I'm needed elsewhere now. I'm needed wherever outlaws rule the West, wherever innocent women and children are afraid to walk the streets, wherever a man cannot live in simple dignity, and wherever a people cry out for justice. All right, you caught me. Speak the plain truth. It's getting pretty damn dull around here.
All right, my friends, that's it for this week. I want to thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to your favorite righteous podcast, Indian Motorcycle Radio. Now may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon you. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Kickstands up. Let's ride.